Cable Wars: How a Presidential Letter Unleashed the Silicon Savannah. President Kibaki was in his office at State House, Nairobi. It was early 2008, late in the evening. He had a multitude of problems in his in-tray, not the least of which was the post-election violence that was raging in the Rift Valley, threatening to consume his presidency and destroy the country. Suddenly, the comptroller of State House came barging in with a mobile phone in his hand. Waiting to talk to him urgently on the other end of the line, 7,500 kilometers away in the United Arab Emirates, was his Minister of Information and Communications Technology, Mutahi Kagwe. All the way from Abu Dhabi, Kagwe could hear the president tell the official to hand over the phone in his famous baritone. The journey to that phone call had begun at an insurance industry dinner 2 years before, in early 2006 at Panari Hotel. Mutahi Kagwe, the newly appointed ICT minister, was guest of honor. After his speech, journalists asked him what he hoped to achieve as minister. It was a good question, and it forced the minister to make a decision. So he told the journalists that he wanted Kenyans to communicate easily and cheaply with the world. At the time, it cost 35 shillings per minute to make a phone call within the Safaricom network during peak hours and up to 50 shillings per minute to other networks. These high costs made Kenyans wait until off-peak hours to make cheaper calls, which always crashed the Safaricom in the evenings, making it impossible for anyone to get through. This is why CEO Michael Joseph accused Kenyans of peculiar calling habits, a tone-deaf remark that caused a memorable PR crisis for the company. Internet connections, on the other hand, were a nightmare since the whole country relied on satellites to access the internet. Satellites, however, transmitted data at a glacial pace and were unreliable. Good luck establishing a connection if the sky was cloudy, and to add salt to injury, the costs of a satellite link were extraordinary. For Kagwe to make it possible for Kenyans to communicate easily and cheaply with the world, there was only one thing to do: abandon the satellites and join the global fiber optic network. This meant the country needed to lay fiber optic cables under the sea, an expensive and difficult undertaking. But since conventional wisdom at the time presumed it could not be done alone, Kenya joined up with other African countries as a co-founder of the South African fiber optic cable called Easy. Soon enough, Kenya discovered there was nothing easy about Easy. The partner countries constantly bickered amongst themselves, and the South Africans, who had a controlling interest in the cable, projected a condescending attitude to everybody else. In their minds, the cable was a business, a cash cow that their wealthy pension funds were keen to build, own, control, and earn profits from. Kenya, on the other hand, viewed the cable as a development tool, a public utility, much like a road, which would provide the foundation for its ICT sector to take off. Tired of endless meetings and unwilling to put her economy at the mercy of the South African pension funds, Kenya made a decision. We would stay in EC, but we would also build our own cable. Kagwe called his fellow ICT ministers from Uganda and Tanzania and convinced them to join in the plan. Determined to achieve digital independence, Kagwe and his fellow East Africans traveled to the USA, Spain, and finally the UAE in search of a way to build their own cable. Watch the next episode for the next installment in this incredible saga. Find out whether Kenya succeeded in getting its own cable and how they did it. This is the Kenyan Observer.